on the cruising side, the original U.S. settlers came over in the early 1600s and settled in Staten Island, and then some of them moved as far out as Greenwood out in upstate New York. His father fought in the Civil War. He was wounded. He was on the Union side.
I'm checking your hair.
So, Mom, this is his interview.
Your hair is.
You're not going to stand there the whole show, are you?
No, I'm not. But I'm going to make sure his hair is right.
Have you always done that to him?
How do you think he got where he is without me?
I just was wondering how you can see. I know you need glasses. I just was wondering
No, I
how.
don't need glasses. I don't wear glasses for anything. I don't wear glasses to read, glasses for anything.
I thought you needed eyeglasses.
No.
Okay, can we commence now?
What are all those messy papers on his desk? Okay, I leave you to you.
All right, goodbye.
I won't see you.
We'll see you later.
I'll get it.
Okay.
Gonna take a sentimental journey. Gonna set my heart at ease.
Don't take close-ups with me because I hate
Gonna
close-ups.
make a sentimental journey.
Para de filmar, por favor.
To renew old memories.
Which one? This one was either.
Take that picture that angle. Let's scale one of the houses we're showing.
I just wanted to shoot both of you.
Not in the kitchen, no. In here. No, not in the kitchen. Come on, darling.
Shall we go sit down?
Yes.
Okay.
Guarde la
Like
cámara,
after
por
you? All
favor.
right.
That's right.
Bill, he's going to shoot both of us here.
All right.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Just make a quick phone call. And then I have got to rattle and roll, but I'm waiting for Pat Cox to get here.
I'll be waiting
That's gonna make a great insert.
Counting every
On the other side of the tail, the other side of that yellow flower.
that takes me back.
There were two chairs. Show me, please.
Right over there, with the back to the door.
Why did
Have you
I?
noticed that Gabby wants to direct this documentary?
Yes, I know.
Wants to take
She
the job.
she wants to take my job away, but you know what? We're gonna play that old trick, like
Yeah, we'll
we'll do what you want, and
But do what we want.
exactly.
Look at this card from Alfred Beverly.
Yes, Mom.
I think this is a pretty shot.
Which one?
Looking straight through the living room, but let me go turn some lights on. I like this porch too. This porch is a great favorite of mine.
What event are we going to celebrate this weekend?
Our 80th birthday.
Oh, I knew. I was just asking you.
Yes, but we're really 59.
59. Not Dad, though.
Yes.
That's not what he said to me.
Oh, yes. But I'm going on really, I should say 40.
49?
Well, how old are you?
There's a point there, you know.
Yes, I better be 59. I was 4 years old when Pat was born.
Well, listen, I have to show you the birthday card I got for you.
Oh, yes, let me see it right now.
Yeah, you need to see it.
Oh, Tippy, that might be your biggest
I
contribution.
hope not. That is appreciated.
Oh,
What is wonderful? What is one?
You have to ask her. This is her show. Oh, but I did want to show the birthday card. Let's.
it is adorable.
My mother was saying that she was celebrating her 59th birthday. She was going between 49 and
Do
59.
not take any pictures of me without.
So this is my birthday card to my mom. A Pinocchio doll here, and a a man walking to the fireplace with logs of wood saying, "Keep lying, it's going to be a long winter." Oh, by the way, here's an interesting picture. Margot and Bill. I guess you liked to wear red back then too, huh? And no doubt my dad dressed according to her wishes. You can be a fashion photographer, Russ.
And another one, thank you.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't waste time, does he?
Okay, now let's start it.
That's my kind of photographer. Hello, welcome.
Andy,
Yeah.
you have to sing Moon River at some point over the weekend.
Uh-oh.
And we need to find a piano where Charles can play Moon River.
No, those talents back. Hi there. Welcome. Salud.
Salud.
Hey Dad, how would you dress if you could dress yourself?
He had on his same old pants
No,
he
no, no.
played golf in.
But how would you have dressed for tonight if you could have picked your own wardrobe?
I would have worn a wire there
Uh-huh.
and a pair of pants and that was, and socks and shoes. That was it.
No necktie?
No necktie.
You have a bird on your shoulder.
I had the bird. Yeah, I can't have the bird. Poor bird's wearing
And the
happy.
bird is just
Listen to the
fine.
bird. He's back in there.
The
telling me
bird
about,
is
hey,
just
how come I'm
fine.
not a part of the troops here? There, you're getting your picture taken, maybe. Yeah. Come on, turn. You got a picture of Melba?
Sí.
La entrevisté ayer.
Ah, sí, ya. A ver, Cookie, venga conmigo. Este se llama el Cookie, el baby.
¿Cómo te has sentido aquí?
Muy bien.
¿Sí?
Sí, ya llevo con los señores Cruz en 3 años. Son unas personas muy lindas, muy buenas, muy generosas, muy humanitarias,
Beverly, please call me tonight.
muy lindas personas. Yo me siento como en mi casa,
You do not have to pick up
como si estuviera en mi propio país y con mi propia familia.
Karen.
Why did you love flying so much?
I like the adventure. I like to go. I like to see things and do things, and I just enjoyed it. It was something I enjoyed doing. I had always, I think, had that in the back of my mind ever since Grandma Cruzen told me about Lindbergh flying across the Atlantic when I was 7 years old. To me, that's really something to do. I don't know why I connected with it, but I did, and I always thought, well, someday I'm going to fly. During my sophomore year, they started what they called the Civilian Pilot Training Program, and I signed up for it. I went through and got my private pilot's license. It cost $35. Not too long after that, the fellow said, my flight instructors are leaving because the military will pay more money than I can pay. Do you think you could get a flight check, be an instructor, commercial instructor? I said, well, I don't have enough hours. I only have about 150 hours, and you need 200. Well, he said, maybe somebody would ride with you and give you the rating because I need you. So he gave Ernie Spence and me an airplane, and we went to Raleigh, and the inspector threw us right out the door. Said, you boys don't have enough flying time. So we stopped in Richmond, Virginia on the way home, and I said, well, let's go see the inspector here. Might as well find out what he says. So this inspector there said, where are you from? We told him, and he said, is that where Bill Mann is, W.R. Mann? We said, yeah. He said, yeah, I know him. He said, he's a good friend of mine. We said, will you call him up and talk to him and see if maybe he would agree to help out some way and you could ride with us and give us our ratings. And he did. In about a week's time, we were transitioned from neophyte students to flight instructors and ground instructors. I do remember that we ground looped it right smack in the middle of the low field because we didn't know what we were doing. I went in to see Dean Carroll, and I said, Dean Carroll, going to have to drop a class here because I just don't have time. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, they're calling me an assistant professor at this point. He said, you're a what? And I told him I was an assistant professor now. What are you teaching? I told him. Oh, okay, he said. We had become good friends for some reason. I don't know why, but I liked him. He was such a fine person and a little bit crusty, but...
Did you just turn the light off?
Yeah.
We're ready yet.
Can we break?
No.
But it's getting cold.
Well, let it get cold, please. Because this tape is just running.
Okay.
So don't worry.
How long?
What would you say, Pato? 20 minutes?
Oh, your sandwiches are going to be ruined.
They won't be
You told me
ruined.
to have it at 12:45.
Well, I'm sorry. I
Don't worry.
apologize.
We'll get along just fine. You know, it's not...
It looks terrible.
Well, why don't you go get it fixed?
She went this morning.
I know. Anyhow, finished up my junior year as a flight instructor and a ground instructor, assistant professor. And then Ernie and I went to Dallas in the summer.
Of what year now?
This was 41. And while we were on our way to Dallas, we thought we were going all the way to California. We were going to go get an instrument reading and see about going to work for an airline. Went up the next morning and signed up for instrument training at the Dallas School of Aviation with a fellow named Hart Bowman. We flew it for quite a while, and finally one day he said, well, I'll ride with you and see how you're doing. He got back on the ground, he said, who's been teaching you? And we said, nobody. He said, I believe that. I'll teach you how. So he taught us, and we both passed our instrument rating.
He taught you how to fly by instruments. You
By
already knew
instruments.
how to fly, right?
Well, how to fly instruments, the procedures. Now that you fellows have your instrument rating, what airline do you want to go to work for? You know, I can get you on any airline. And we said, well, why don't we try Braniff? They're right here. He said, okay. And go down there and go upstairs and ask for Mr. Braniff. Ask for Tom Braniff. He'll hire you. You told him I said so. We went down and the receptionist said, what would you boys like to do today? And we said, well, we're here to see Mr. Braniff. Well, he's busy this morning, but what was it about? And we said, well, we're going to go to work for Braniff. Oh, well, and you need to see the personnel director. But he comes out and takes one look at us and shakes his head and says, we're not hiring anybody today. And so we went back up. Hart Bowman said, did you get the job? We said, no. Did you see Mr. Braniff? No. Well, go back down there and see Mr. Braniff. Make sure you see him. He'll hire you. So we went back down and she said, now what? And we said, we're here to see Mr. Braniff. And, well, Mr. Braniff, still very busy. About that time, along comes another fellow, and he said, what are you boys here for? Well, we're here to see Mr. Braniff to be pilots. Well, he said, I'm Ray Schrader, I'm the chief pilot. Come on in and fill out your application. We filled out our applications, and he looked at them, and he said, okay, you're hired, $125 a month. As we walked out of his little office and down the hall, this little heavy-set fella came along, you know, and he said, well, what are you boys doing here? Oh, we said, we're pilots for Braniff. He said, well, that's good. He said, I'm Tom Braniff. He said, welcome aboard. And after we both got on, well, back up a little bit.
Now let's talk a little bit about how you met Dad.
After I graduated from college, I had gotten a job with Folgers Coffee Company, and I was going to go to California. I was going to be an interpreter. That summer, but I went out to New Mexico for the summer, and that summer I met this divine young man. I fell madly in love with him. And he went into the Navy, and he was going to be stationed at Corpus Christi. And I didn't want to be way out in California. So I thought, oh, how in the world can I get to Texas? One of Grandpa's best friends was a man named Benjamin Clayton. So I went to see, and I always called him Uncle Ben. So I went to see Uncle Ben, and I said, oh, Uncle Ben, I've got a real dilemma. I have this job, and instead of that, I've fallen in love, and I don't want to go. I want to be in Texas, because this boy that I'm madly in love with is in the Navy. And he said, oh, that's no problem. He said, I know just the thing you'd love. You would love being an airline stewardess, only they called them hostesses on Braniff. And he said, since I own 52% of the stock of Braniff Airways, that's no problem at all. He said, I'll just call up Tom Braniff, and tell him I'm sending you down, and I want him to put you on the line. Uncle Ben, Grandpa, and my mother, they would never let me do anything like that. He said, you just leave Emilio to me. So he did, and they gave me permission to go, and I tootled off to Dallas. And I had to live with Mr. and Ms. Brannon, unfortunately, for 2 or 3 months till I got acquainted with the other stewardesses. And then I got an apartment with some of the girls, but they didn't want me to go straight to an apartment. That would be much too fast. One of the pilots on Braniff was a fellow named Ernie Spence. And Ernie and I became very good friends. I dated Ernie some. Oh, he told Bill, he said, there's a great gal who's come to work for the airline. You'd probably enjoy meeting her. And he introduced us. I liked Dad. He was very attractive. He had black curly hair and real blue eyes. I didn't fall madly in love with him.
What did you like about him?
Well, he was a nice person and fun. Then when he decided to go to leave Braniff and go to South America to work for Pan American Grace Airways, he wrote to me, and I'm not a very good letter writer, so I didn't write very often, but he wrote to me fairly often.
And they sent me everywhere, and that was fine. For several years there, it was great. The married guys wanted to be home Christmas and New Year's. I said, that's fine, I'll put me in the airplane, I'll fly. So I scheduled out every Christmas, every New Year's, and that was all right. Being a captain for an airline is significant when you're 22 years old.
At what moment did you decide you wanted to ask her to marry you?
Well, I'd been thinking about getting married because I was a captain and I had money and wanted to be something else besides just flying around, living out of that suitcase. And I was looking for, I thought I was looking for something. I didn't realize what I was getting into. I might not jump so quick.
Dad and I became engaged.
Well, now, hang on.
Back up a little bit. And then Ernie and I, we stopped in Dallas and looked up this girl that I met in Zephyr Hills, and she was a stewardess for Braniff. She said, well, why don't you go to work for Braniff? I hear they're hiring anybody. And we thought, hey, maybe that's us.
What was her name?
Her name was Leona Mae Parole.
Now, who was Leona Mae? Leona Mae.
Oh, Leona Mae.
Leona Mae was a beautiful girl, and she was a designated person to have her picture taken for Braniff.
Leona Mae was a beautiful girl from Kansas City that I went to college with. She was madly in love with Dad, madly in love with him.
And she was like Miss Braniff, kind of? What do you mean?
She was, if they had a photo where they wanted to show Braniff off, she was the one that would be in the picture.
Leona Mae.
Leona Mae, oh, and anyway, she was mad. She used to write to Bill every other day at school. And she'd say, oh, I can't go. I have to go mail this letter to Bill. She called him Bill.
But she wasn't from the South.
She was from Kansas City, but she called him Bill. She was eased out of the picture.
Well, how did that happen?
Well,
We heard that she suggested to
she
Bill
said,
that...
Dad says that I can't believe that she would do anything like that. But I remember just before Dad and I were married, she was much taller than I. She grabbed me and she shook me and shook me. She said, you just better be good to that old boy. You just better be good to that old boy.
So she still carried a torch for him.
Yeah, she did.
So you don't think she suggested to Bill that he
Oh,
marry
he
you?
says, maybe she did in a weak moment or something, and he took her seriously.
Did he like her?
He didn't know her that well. She'd write him letters, and that was that kind of romance.
She was really a strikingly beautiful girl. Then I had a trip to Panama and got up there and had some maintenance on the airplane, so I had to stay over a day. And so I said, well, I'll call Margot up. The lady there said, no, you can't tell her where you are. I'm just going to ask her to marry me. Okay, so you can do that. I said, okay. So I did, and she said yes. And that was in 1943, I guess it was.
You remember how the phone call went?
I don't remember that. I think her mother answered the phone.
And then he called me up one day and just asked me to marry him. And I had a date sitting in the living room, and I said, oh, just sit down, Jack, for a few minutes.
I said, what are you doing? And she said, well, I'm getting ready to go out on a date tonight. I'm dating a Navy guy. So that took a little more of the wind out of my sails. I said, I'm checked out. I'm flying as a captain now. I said, oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Ernie Spence is checking out, too. He's going to be a captain right away, too. And that deflated me a little bit. Then I asked her about getting married. She said, oh, yeah. I said, that's great.
And so I chatted with Bill, and he asked me to marry him, and I said, oh, I'd love to. Just like that. I was so flighty and fickle.
Well, how did you put the question?
I said,
That's a pretty good question.
I said,
From the beginning, ring, ring, hello?
I need to ask you a question. I said, will you marry me? And she said, yes. I said, good.
You said it like that? Okay, hang on though. Were you serious when you said you would?
Yeah. And
Okay.
Though you were madly in love with him, as you said.
no, I wasn't madly in love with him at all.
What did you accept then? No.
Well, I just liked him.
Was it just something like an inner prompting, an inner voice or something? I mean,
No.
what was it that attracted you to Mom?
I don't think there was anybody else that I would have really cared about being married to. I never proposed to anybody before in my life, and I never have since.
Oh,
Had anybody proposed to you before?
Yes, a bunch of times.
And that deflated me a little bit.
With a guy from Corpus Christi?
He never did propose, but I'm glad he didn't because I wouldn't have wanted to marry him.
And you
in
would have said
retrospect.
yes.
I might have.
But you said no then to these other suitors.
Yeah.
Why did you say yes to Bill?
Because I thought the idea of going to live in South America sounded so glamorous. I came back out and went out on my date with Jack.
Now, was Jack the guy that...
Jack White.
Was that the guy that you were madly in love with?
No. This is
So
something
you had
else.
since broken up
Oh
with the other-
yes, I dropped him months earlier. The Navy guy.
The Navy guy was going to fight me if he could find me, and I said, well, I'll fight him wherever he is. But I never saw him.
I just want to get the chronology here with Margot.
Okay,
So
well-
you've been in South America for about a year when you proposed to her, or 2 years?
2 years from the time I left the States.
He called you from Panama
Right.
and asked if you would marry him.
Yeah.
You said yes, sure,
Uh-huh.
and then went about your business, so
Yeah.
to say. How much later
We were
was
married
it?
in January.
So how many months later was that when you actually got married?
She had said, yes, I'll marry him, but several months later, when I got to Dallas, she was going with this Navy fellow, and we all had a picnic at White Rock Lake, so she arranged for me to get a date with somebody else because it was all set up, supposedly, and while we were on the picnic, she said, well, why don't you take me home? I said, well, you have a date and I have a date. Well, she said, I'll take care of that. So I took her home. And
What did she do? How did she?
I don't know. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. I said, well, maybe tomorrow we could meet and I'd like to take you to lunch. And she said, well, that's fine. We have to go downtown anyhow. I said, what do you got downtown? She said, well, I have to get the ring. If we're going to get married, I have to have a ring. I said, oh.
After I said yes, then he came up and gave me my ring.
Now we heard that story from him.
Yeah.
That you took him to the place where he should buy the ring. Is that?
Well, he didn't know where to go. He wasn't familiar with the jewelry stores in Dallas, and I was. And besides, these friends of mine owned the jewelry store, and I knew they would give him a very fair price.
We went down to this jewelry store and this guy looked at me and he said, I've got me a live one here.
So you had it picked out for him.
I had sort of looked at rings, sort of.
And he pulled this ring out and it fit everything. I think it's all been rehearsed.
It was a carat diamond, blue-white carat diamond, and it was about $2,000, which was a lot of money then.
Did he pay $2,000 for it?
He said, this is it. Here's the wedding ring, here's the engagement ring. And it's $900.
He said it was $900.
No, it was a little more than that.
And it was legitimate, right? It wasn't fool's gold.
Oh, no.
You would think he would remember that amount.
Yeah, you'd think you would.
And it's $900. And I said, ooh, wait, are you sure? He said, yeah, I'm sure. So I bought the ring.
Now, he said too that the same time he came up and you got engaged in the ring and all that stuff, there was this Navy guy that was really upset. He didn't want Dad to marry you or something?
No, Spence was kind of a little upset. He wasn't a Navy guy. He was Dad's best friend. Spence used to date me all the time, too.
No, we know about Spence.
Yeah.
So what was Spence upset about?
Spence said, son, do you know what you're doing? And I said, well, I'm about to find out, but I think I'm doing all right. I said, I think I've got a chance to marry the best girl that I've seen anywhere, anytime. I don't know where it's going to lead or what'll happen. Nobody knows the future, but I'm going to do the best I can to make it work. I said, well, lots of luck. But I've moved her 2 or 3 times. When she wanted to move somewhere, she'd call me and I'd have to move her from one apartment to the other. He said, you don't know what all you got to go through. I said, well, I'll take my chance. And I have.
And what did he mean by that? She had a lot of junk with her stuff?
She was bossy and she had boxes of this and boxes of that, just like she does today. She's in charge. You can't change that.
He told Dad, oh, he said, you don't want to marry Margot. She has a whole bathroom full, her medicine chest is full of pills. And he said, you don't want to marry her. And she's so fickle and she spends the money like crazy. She has so many clothes. And he did everything he could to discourage Dad from marrying me. He really did.
Because he wanted to marry you.
I don't know that he really did, but he thought he did.
Did he ever propose to you?
No.
He was too shy then.
Oh, he couldn't get up enough nerve, and I wouldn't have married him anyway. And, oh dear, I better not say that in case his wife ever sees this movie. She's a darling. I love his present wife. I'll eliminate all that part.
She won't mind if we put it in.
Oh, yes, she will.
And then I had to go back because all of us were on a very tight flight schedule. I said, okay, I'll try to get off in a few months and come back up and we'll get married. A lot of the folks on Branham said the two of you won't last 6 months because you're so totally different. And 6 months later, I got back up here and I had another 10 days off, so we got married.
And so we spent about 4 or 5 days here in Florida, and then we went back to New Orleans and spent a couple of days in New Orleans and flew down to Lima.
We went to Lima and I found out that life was not the way I had envisioned it. There were responsibilities, there were things that I had to do that I had never expected to have to do. And
that was a whole new chapter in your life.
A whole new chapter in my life.
Tell us about it.
Well, it was exciting being in a foreign country. I had been to Mexico, but that's the only place outside of the States I had ever been. And I loved Peru, I loved Lima. We stayed with some friends of Dad's until we found a house, and then we found an absolutely fabulous, fabulous house with a great high wall all around it and a staff of wonderful servants. And it was just a lovely way to begin married life.
there were just all kinds of complications.
Such as?
Well, just
things you had to do.
Things, the house. We had to have things in the house. She wanted furniture and silverware and glasses, rugs, all kinds of silly stuff. I never worried about any of those things.
6 servants, which was nice. I liked lots of help. because we wanted to live nicely, and we did live nicely.
It's like you were a princess or a queen. That's
It
sort of a
was
fairy
nice.
tale, a fairy tale.
It was
kind of-
very, very nice.
We had a maid and a cook and a lot of help, so Margot had all sorts of things going on, and she ran that house. She was in charge. She was in charge of me, and I think we had a couple of good rows down in Lima and realized that we had to learn to get along. And I think that if we'd have been close to home, it might be that it wouldn't have worked. I don't know. But we did learn how to get along, and we can disagree without being disagreeable. And we did have a lot of disagreements. We still have disagreements, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And I got pregnant right away.
Then we found out that Pam was on the way, and she wanted to paint the bedroom for Pam. And we went down and bought a 5-gallon can of water-based paint, and you added water to it, I guess the way they did it. And so I really had 20 gallons of paint. I took the trip to Buenos Aires, and I came back, and Pam's room was painted blue, the maid's room was painted blue, the kitchen was painted blue, the dining room was painted blue, and she still had paint left over to paint a lot of other things. And I don't know what happened to paint, but that was the end of the blue. It was a pretty color, thank goodness.
We were in Lima about a year and 3 months, and then Dad developed yellow jaundice and typhus fever, both at the same time. So we needed to come back to the States and go to a clinic for tropical diseases. So we were going to Boston to Leahy Clinic, which was the best. So we flew back up with Pam. She was in a little basket. We left Pam in Zephyr Hills with Bill's parents, and we went on up to Boston. And they thought Dad should stay up here, shouldn't go back.
So we had a lovely time, wonderful time in Lima, and I really loved being there, and I know that Margot did, and we were quite happy there. And Pam was born there October the 12th, 1945. I had a car, which was unusual. Not many people had cars in Lima. I remember it had a push-button radio in it, and I picked Margot up and the baby and was bringing them home, and I pushed the button and a jazz band came on. All of a sudden the clouds disappeared, the blue sky came out, and I said, this has got to be a good omen all the way around, and it has been.
I'll be loving you always with a love that's true always. When the things you've planned need a helping hand, I will understand always, always. Days may not be fair, always. That's when I'll be there, always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always. I'll be loving you, honey, always, with the love that's true, always. When the things you've planned need.
She had many qualities I liked. She always had a lot of vitality, a lot of energy. I think her decisions were good. She was very quick, she was very sharp. She's done a wonderful job at home here, built a nice home. I've been very happy with her. I would say that after the children grew up, she didn't have much of anything to do. So she's taken to making sure that I do a better job of driving a car, flying an airplane. Told me I had to have a captain to run the boat. She bosses me around quite a bit. I do put clothes on.
But the ones she picks out for you, right?
But he picked them out. He bought them too.
But
very nice.
always.
Thank you.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you, Kippy.
Thank you,
It's
Kim.
been a great birthday party. Your
I'm
mother,
glad to.
mother did a great job.
Yeah.
Really organized.
I think everyone had a wonderful time.
Everyone had a
That's the
party.
sign of a great
Really
party.
did. I think they really did.
What do you have to say to the future generation?
I think the first thing, I have been very fortunate to have married your mother, and I'm very proud of our 4 children. I think all of you have done the right thing at the right time as much as anybody could ever expect. And so I think that is very wonderful. And I have enjoyed the lifetime that we've had together, which at this point is almost 56 years. So that's really the message that I would have to leave.
Children of the future, work hard, play hard, love life, live life to the fullest. Study, study, study. Cram yourself with your mind and never fail to take any opportunity to learn anything you can learn, because it's so important to have a good education, to know a lot, and to use what you have learned well
And wisely.
and wisely. And it's too late to go outside, isn't it?
I think the light is perfect outside if you want to go outside.
Yeah, let's go outside. Let's go outside, Chrissy.
I forgot that you played basketball.
Oh, yes, I was quite a star.
This is what is known as the golden hour.
The golden hour.
Yes, photography.
Thank you. Lots of work, though.
Did you have a ball?